gosh. Come on, Kirk. William Kirk over there, the Washington gun law. You know, why can't you just give this up and allow Washington to be a safer state?
Well, because so far none of the legislation has worked to make us a safer state.
Oh, well, you bite your tongue, mister, sitting there with your black jacket on. Wait till you hear what the Attorney General Nick Brown has to say.
I chose this bill to make the first time that I testified because I believe that this bill is a measure that will save lives. Let me say that again. When the legislature passes this bill, it will save lives in Washington state. On average, 935 people are killed by firearm violence in Washington each year. That is double the gun death rates per capita of New Jersey and triple the rate of Massachusetts.
Okay, I've got more from him, but basically when he talks about those gun deaths, what percentage of those are suicides?
About 75%.
Okay, keep going.
We are not doing enough currently to protect people. Washington has already introduced components of a robust permitting system. House Bill 1163 would build on that progress by adding new pieces, including a permitting component with safety training, along with the existing required background checks. This process makes meaningful use of the time between purchase decision and when a gun is used in a person's hand. The interval can provide a cooling off period for those with intent on self-harm or violence towards others. The enhanced permitting in this bill means applicants must demonstrate completion of the Washington State Patrol certified safety training, responsible firearm handling, and live fire exercises to ensure practical firearm proficiency.
Oh, boy.
This bill, along with the comprehensive background checks and an annual recheck by WSP, ensure that permit holders remain eligible.
Okay. Then he wraps it up. All right. So this bill will save lives, William Kirk.
Incorrect.
Flat out incorrect.
Yeah, it's incorrect. Well, first of all, let's go back and take a look at where he started. He said 935 homicides in the state of Washington, a number which, by the way, has increased over the years as we passed assault weapon bans and magazine bans and closing gun shell loopholes and all of that. If you take suicides out of it, and then you take away all of the crimes that are committed by individuals who are unlawfully possessing the firearm at the time the crime is committed, I can assure you that number is going to be more like around 35, maybe 25. Because that is the identifiable problem when it comes to what they want to call gun violence. Are there deaths caused by guns? Absolutely. Unfortunately, a tremendous amount of them are suicides, and that is clearly an issue rooted in mental health.
Yes. And
then when the rest of them are basically being accomplished by individuals who are committing a crime by possessing the firearm at the time, it goes to that old adage that, shockingly, criminals don't obey the laws. The background check system that Attorney General Brown is so thrilled with is the exact same background check system, identical, exact same background check system that a person needs to go through before they can purchase a firearm. So what the state's creating is a cost before you could go through a background check in order to go through a background check. And it's a cost that's being imposed upon the exercise of a constitutional right.
The Attorney General, Nick Brown, believes that this thing would not be challenged in the courts.
It will be challenged in the courts. It most certainly will. It's kind of a big issue that we're beginning to see not only in the state of Washington, but other states now, those that are kind of more hell-bent on civilian disarmament. And that is that they're trying to come up with every conceivable roadblock possible to allow individuals to access their Second Amendment rights, whether it's chronological, which Attorney Brown actually admitted to in his testimony. It allows for a cooling off period. Well, Washington State already has, John, as you know, a 10-day waiting period.
Yeah.
So you could walk into a gun store right now, clear the background check. They'd be like, great, John, we'll see you in 10 days.
Yes.
Because you can't pick the firearm up before that. This clearly could add 30, 40, 60 days to that, which for most people, that's just a chronological inconvenience. But for a segment of the population, oftentimes abused and battered women who are in terrible situations, that difference, the ability or inability to defend themselves during that critical period of time, is the difference between life and death. So this is not going to save lives. It's going to cost lives in the long run.
So, yeah, I looked at the numbers. So in Washington State, 1,100 gun deaths. You take the suicides, that's 770. It's like 69 to 70%, right? So it's 13 per 100,000. We have a suicide problem That's a mental health problem. And by the way, it skyrocketed when Inslee locked everybody down and destroyed people's jobs and lives. It went through the roof. But that aside, you're saying if you just go to get the people that are using those guns that shouldn't have those guns. So then I looked up how many people are in prison. I looked from 2015. I looked at the number of people that are going to prison for gun crimes. Has dropped every single year. So you have a gun, you're not supposed to have a gun, you're using it in the act of a crime, you don't do any prison time or very little prison time. So I looked to compare New Jersey, Massachusetts, and California when it came to prison time. They're much tougher. So if you commit a crime with a gun in those states, you go to jail, so you're not out on the street to kill somebody else. In the state of Washington, we passed these laws. And by the way, every town USA has been crowing about how well Washington's doing when it comes to passing gun laws. And they've moved us up. The congratulations. I think we're now number 9th or something on the list because we're passing more and more laws.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about the every town ratings. It's like when we were in grade school and we used to get 2 grades, one for effort and one for achievement. And what Washington is bragging about is the grades they're getting for effort. You know, every town's like, hey, Washington, you're trying. But what the citizens should care about is achievement. And we don't see our violent crime numbers going down. We don't see the firearm homicides going down. We don't see the suicide problem getting any better. We don't see the gang-related gun violence, drug-related gun violence, and all of that that's getting better. And yet they keep doubling and tripling down on these particular gun laws because they're clearly not designed to solve the problem. They're designed to do something else.
And I'm going to put you on the spot, William Kirk from the Washington gun law. Are we just trying to encumber and to disarm the citizens of Washington?
Yes.
Well, that's illegal. That's illegal.
That is. But, you know, for the person out there listening who's ambivalent to this issue, think of it this way. Right now, the law would say that it would say that you need to pay for training and then get licensed by the state by proving your worthiness before you can buy a gun. That's essentially what the law says. The drafter would even tell you that. Okay, if you just took buy a gun off the end of that sentence and put vote at the end of it, how constitutional does that sound? Or go to church. Or let us remember that right now in this state, there's a Senate joint resolution kicking around to try to make abortion a constitutional right. Take buy a gun out and write get an abortion on the back of it, and then ask those on the other side of the political spectrum, how constitutional does that appear to you? And that's the most offensive thing, is there is a price, and there's a price tag, a time delay, and a necessity to prove your worthiness before you can exercise what is supposed to be an inalienable right. That's the most offensive part of this bill.
Right, but people will argue, well, the Second Amendment, you know, do we really want to have it? It's an incredibly violent society. Even the new chief of police in Seattle, while he was in Minneapolis, was saying, or in Madison, Wisconsin, you know, maybe we should take a second look at this Second Amendment. You know, maybe there's just too many people dying. We should probably maybe we should amend it somehow, because I'm sure the founding fathers never expected us to be killing each other at the rate we're killing each other.
They are welcome to have a constitutional convention if they so desire. They should be careful what they ask for, because you could end up with a national concealed carry reciprocity bill coming out of a constitutional or convention at this point. Unfortunately, they're not going to do that. There's not the political will to do that. So what you do is you see your rights taken from the bottom up by local and state governments. That's how they're going to do it. And it's just a slow, long battle to get these things through the court systems, and they know it. As
much time as you spent in front of the camera and testifying and writing, you ready for this? I'll put you on the spot. Will this thing pass?
Yes. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind it's going to pass. There is a provision in Section 20 of the bill that says that funding has to be in place by June 30th of this year. And I don't think anyone's estimated the amount of funding it's going to take, because the Washington State Patrol is tasked with this entire assignment. So you can imagine how much more people need to be added to the licensing regime in order to do this properly, especially if it's going to require annual background checks.
Well, listen, if you underfund it, it makes the lines longer, and then therefore it saves more lives.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
There you go.
Bill, have a great weekend. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me.